But that actually is... what you've just said there, Andrew, is actually... I disagree with the basis of what you've just said, because I don't actually think it's about money. I think it's actually about freedom and empowerment.
There's anxiety about how the theory can be turned into practice. A former senior aide to the Tory leader, a man who runs a charity himself, sees the risks.
If we're accountable as charitable organisations to an official sitting in Whitehall, then of course there's going to be bureaucracy and there's going to be difficulties. The danger is that all we'll do is nationalise the charitable sector rather than actually handing over power and control to it.
Some of what government's done has actually taken responsibility away from people. So you combine that, a moral problem if you like, with the current cash crisis problem we have of the massive deficit. And I think it is a good time to argue that what we need so much in the future is not the big state, but the big society.
His former tutor has grave doubts.
Now, when you unpack it, what does that mean? Does it mean if you're unemployed, the Salvation Army will be looking after you? Of course not. This is the philosophy of the 19th century, and we brought the state in precisely because it wasn't adequate.
Like all opposition leaders, David Cameron claims he only wants power to give it away.
This government, if we win the election, is going to do things differently. Not believing that the man in Whitehall knows best, not so much bossing, interfering, telling people what to do, but actually giving people responsibility over their lives.
The idea of the big society might be a rejection of Thatcherism, but when it comes to Europe, David Cameron remains her faithful disciple. He is at least as Eurosceptic as she ever was.
He's more one of Thatcher's children and of that generation that was influenced by the evolution of her opinion towards increasing scepticism and in the end hostility towards the European Union.
For us European, conservative means anti-European, anti-Brussels. It's Thatcher, I want my money back. It's John Major and the exemption clause from the treaty. And it is William Hague, very Eurosceptic.
David Cameron's first important political job was as an aide to Chancellor Norman Lamont in the early 1990s. He had a ringside seat on Black Wednesday, Britain's humiliating ejection from the exchange rate mechanism. That cataclysm wrecked the reputation of the last Tory government, ruined Lamont's career, and seared Euroscepticism into the soul of the future leader.
Undoubtedly, that experience influenced profoundly the attitudes in Britain towards a single currency. In that sense, those events gave a boost to Euroscepticism in Britain.
In the past, both those enthusiastic about Europe and those deeply hostile to it were represented in the Conservative Party. Now, they're an almost wholly Eurosceptic party. They used to be members of the mainstream centre-right grouping in Europe, the European People's Party, the EPP. That allied them with Nicolas Sarkozy of France and Chancellor Merkel of Germany. David Cameron has divorced his party from the EPP.
The EPP wanted to get to a destination of a much more federal European structure than we ever wanted. And, you know, I'm generally of the view that if you don't want to get to the destination, don't get on the bus.
The consequence has been to distance the Tories from the powerful mainstream centre-right parties that rule in France and Germany and put the Conservatives in bed with fringe right-wingers, some of whom are accused of anti-Semitism and homophobia.
Here is a man, David Cameron, who's made a huge effort to change the image of his party. He's the man who stood up at a Tory party conference and said we should be in favour of gay marriage. And now one of his partners is a party, a Polish party, with a pretty nasty track record of homophobia.
I mean, there were reports that Angela Merkel was really very, very angry with the British Conservatives. Do you think those were...
I think that is true as regards the withdrawal from the European Conservatives, yes.
Why on earth did you cut yourself off from the two most important centre-right politicians in Europe?
I always said to President Sarkozy and to Angela Merkel, you know, there will come a time when I think we'll all look back and say, right, this is fine, we're now happy neighbours. We work together, but where there are areas we disagree, we can have an honest disagreement, and our two parties are separate but can work together. I think that's a thoroughly good thing.
I think a Cameron government will probably be the most Eurosceptic government that we've so far had.
A large section of his party may feel betrayed if Prime Minister Cameron finds that the rest of Europe is simply not interested in renegotiating the relationship.
If you have a large part of your party, and you're the governing party, which wants out of Europe altogether, then the potential for trouble is very, very serious. And, of course, John Major's government was almost destroyed by this. It could well happen again.
The Eurosceptic David Cameron is just one of the guises in which he's appeared. There have been many mutations of David Cameron. The ruthless Cameron, the compassionate Cameron, the green Cameron, the austere Cameron, the sunshine Cameron, the web Cameron.
Everyone finished?
I'm not finished.
Okay, well, you can finish your bread and jam.
What is Cameronism?
Cameronism is conservatism.
What is Cameronism?
Cameronism, to me, is the recognition of some authentic conservative truths about the importance of a big society and the importance of individual freedom.
And it's about giving people the freedom and space.
What Cameronism is a reversion to the cardinal principle of Tory party politics, which is that their duty is to be elected.
It's about support for community associations like the family, but also villages, towns, parishes, cities.
I don't know, and I suspect he may not know either.
Well, I don't really believe in these sort of personalised isms and wasms and whatever else. I mean, I'm not a deeply ideological person. I'm quite a practical person.
That lack of precise definition has broadened the appeal of David Cameron. His tactical agility in opposition has helped to bring the Tories to the brink of power. As Prime Minister, he will need to display much more strategic direction. Without a firm and clear sense of purpose, he will be utterly overwhelmed by the huge challenges facing him in number 10.
Tomorrow night from 8 on Channel 4. Sleep deprivation is the problem. Joe Frost, the solution. Extreme parental guidance. Next tonight, a secret millionaire who's in store for a massive reality check.